Think of war. You picture troops, missiles, planes crossing the sky. Now think again, because the most efficient war of the century uses none of those things. In 2013, the Associated Press's official Twitter account was hacked, and a fake post claimed 2 explosions had hit the White House and the American president was injured. Notice the scale of the hit. The hacker did not even need to breach a bank or a government. He just needed one weak password on a media account half the world follows, and 180 seconds of silence before anyone checked the facts. In 180 seconds, the S&P 500 wiped out a value equivalent to $136 billion. Minutes later came the denial, but the financial damage was already done. That day was one of the first serious warnings that a single sentence could be worth more than a bomb. Almost no one paid attention. This is not fiction. This is the power of information used as a weapon, fought every second on every screen on the planet. A war with no uniform, no border, and damage no missile could produce on its own. Today you will step behind the scenes of this war, who is fighting it, how they are winning, and why whoever controls information controls everything. This war was not born in the algorithms of big tech companies. It was born in an ordinary building in Saint Petersburg, Russia, where hundreds of people clocked in every day with a single goal: making you believe lies. The Internet Research Agency is the world's largest troll factory. By 2015, it already had 400 employees working 12-hour shifts, including 80 workers dedicated exclusively to destabilizing the United States. They received English grammar lessons and were required to watch the show House of Cards to learn how to manipulate American political narratives. Then they created thousands of fake accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. A former employee named Lyudmila Savchuk described her own shift: 5 political posts, 10 neutral posts, and between 150 and 200 comments a day on posts from other trolls at the same factory. Her salary was 41,000 rubles a month, less than $800. An entire operation dedicated to polarizing American democracy for under $1,000 a month per person. This is not amateur work. It is an industry, and it did not stop in 2016. It continues today at a far larger scale, targeting dozens of countries at once. But how does a state-scale disinformation machine actually work? The US State Department studied Russia's propaganda ecosystem for years and found it is not a loose web of lies. It is 5 pillars that support one another. The first pillar is big Russian state outlets, like Russia Today and Sputnik. They look like journalism, but answer directly to the Kremlin. The second pillar is front news agencies, sites built to look like a press outlet, but with no newsroom and no real fact-checking, existing only to repeat and amplify the first pillar. The third pillar is social media and trolls, real people and automated accounts working together to push the narrative straight from the front site into anyone's feed. The fourth pillar is front organizations, groups that look like civil society, speaking in the name of peace or social causes, but funded by the Russian government behind the curtain. And the fifth pillar is paid influencers, academics, journalists, and commentators who repeat the Russian narrative, some paid directly, others simply because the narrative fits what they already wanted to believe. The State Department report named this whole set the disinformation ecosystem because each pillar depends on the other 4 to survive. Removing one pillar alone does not bring down the structure. The other 4 hold the weight. Together, the 5 pillars create what the report calls the multiplier effect. A lie goes in through one pillar and comes out the other side looking like truth because it was seen in many different places from seemingly independent sources. By the time someone tries to debunk it, the lie is already everywhere. So far, we have talked about text, manipulated photos, fake accounts. Now brace yourself because the next generation of disinformation needs none of that. It only needs a phone. Deepfakes are videos generated by artificial intelligence showing people saying and doing things that never happened. In 2025, this technology crossed a critical threshold. The flaws that once gave away a fake video have practically vanished. Days before Ireland's presidential election in October 2025, a video styled like a national broadcaster RTA news bulletin showed the frontrunner announcing she was quitting the race. The fake anchor went on to say that, because of this, the entire election was cancelled. The video was viewed nearly 30,000 times in 12 hours before being taken down. The candidate publicly denied it and called it a fabrication. Days later, the election went ahead as scheduled, and she won. An entire campaign was nearly hijacked by a few seconds of video generated without ever leaving a screen. And here is the most unsettling part. Just knowing deepfakes exist makes you start doubting real videos too. That is the effect disinformation makers want most. They do not need to make you believe the lie, they just need to make you doubt the truth. Now the link most people ignore. When we think of disinformation, we think of Russia. But there is another player, building the largest information manipulation machine in history. And it is working side by side with the Russians. The two powers use different tactics that converge on the same point. Russia's strategy is to destabilize, create chaos, polarize societies, erode trust in institutions. China's strategy is different. Promote a positive image of itself, present itself as a reliable partner, fill spaces the United States seems to be abandoning. What looks different is, underneath, the same thing, weakening the West. During the pandemic, Russians and Chinese pushed opposite but complementary narratives, each side attacking a different flank of American trust, on the same team. One difference sets the two powers apart, and it explains why the convergence worries Western analysts so much. Russia is in a hurry and accepts being caught, because the chaos itself is the win. China plays a longer game, where getting caught is the failure itself. And there is more. In January 2026 alone, Taiwan recorded a 60% jump in false or distorted information coming from China, surpassing 2,160,000 detected instances. Taiwan has become the main real-time testing ground for this manipulation engineering, the laboratory where the next generation of information operations is being calibrated before anything rolls out to the rest of the world. Once the technology is ready there, it can be applied at global scale against whatever target Beijing chooses. Let us put a real number on all of this. What does the lie actually cost? Every year, a study by the University of Baltimore with digital security firm Che measured the direct cost of disinformation on the global economy and arrived at $78 billion a year. The bill breaks down like this: $39 billion lost in market drops caused by fake news, $17 billion in bad financial decisions made on false information, $9 billion spent by companies just to rebuild their own reputation, another $9 billion in health misinformation, much of it driven by the anti-vaccine movement, and the rest spreads across platform safety and fraudulent political advertising. Not every lie needs billions to work. The same report shows well-targeted political disinformation campaigns cost, on average, a fraction of any legitimate election's marketing budget and still move entire crowds. $78 billion is enough to buy 2 nuclear aircraft carriers every single year just in losses caused by lies. Money that vanishes from companies, from retirement funds, from healthcare investment. No bomber produces that kind of damage on its own, but the money is just a consequence. The real goal is bigger. In 2019, India's ruling party mobilized 1,200,000 people just to spread disinformation on WhatsApp and Facebook during the general election. The opposition party deployed another 800,000, together 2 million people functioning as a human amplification network for lies in a single country, in a single election. In 2016, the Russian troll factory went beyond spreading posts. It organized in Houston in the United States two opposing protests at the same place at the same time, one against the Islamic presence in the city, another defending it. Protesters on both sides were real Americans, summoned by pages that looked local. Neither side knew both came from the same office in Saint Petersburg. The total cost of the operation for Russia, $200 in Facebook ads. The goal was never to make one side win. It was to make both sides hate each other more and doubt that the other was even made up of real people. The pattern repeats democracy after democracy. Find the crack that already exists in a society, inject two opposing narrators into it, and let the citizens themselves do the work of attacking one another. Freedom House documented industrial-scale information manipulation in 24 of the 30 countries that held elections in that period. It is not a coincidence, it is a tactic, and it works so well that entire democracies find out too late that the most dangerous battlefield has no trench, it has a screen. So what is the end point of this war? What happens when no one can tell lies from truth anymore? The answer lies in human nature. When we are exposed to the same lie repeatedly, we start treating it as familiar, and familiar gets confused with true. It is not that we truly come to believe it. It is that the mere fact it exists plants doubt, and doubt is already enough. When a country's population starts doubting its own institutions, its own media, its own electoral process, that democracy has already lost. It needs no tank, no missile. It just needs people doubting themselves. This is the war being fought right now, with no uniform, no siren, no battle map. Just a constant flow of lies designed to make every society destroy itself from within. There are models of resistance. Finland teaches children from elementary school to recognize when they are being manipulated. The European Union created the EU's Disinfo project, cataloging thousands of verified cases, and the platforms themselves have already removed millions of fake accounts. But as long as someone is willing to pay for this war, it continues, because information is the only weapon that makes the enemy attack itself. Whoever controls that flow controls the world. The next great war will not be won with weapons, it will be won with truth. Except that, before that, someone has to decide what the truth is. And that someone, for now, is winning.